It is Gopher Basketball Weekly, presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Onward for Business. They want to be on your team when you buy or sell a business. Onward for Business is the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward. My name is Mike Grimm, along with Justin Gaard and the head coach, Richard Pitino, and we are off and running here for this Tuesday edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino. Guardsy, good to see you.
Good to see you, Grimmer. Thanks for having me.
And Richard Pitino, good to see you as well.
Great to see you.
Well, let's. You sound so enthused to be on the show today. Let's talk a little bit. It was obviously not a great day at Williams Arena on Saturday. How do you come back from that? How do you what's your message to the team as you get ready now for a couple of big ones coming up this week?
Well, it's a challenge because fans and media don't want to hear it, but there's a clear issue that we're having, and it's injuries. But nobody wants to hear that. That's a coach making an excuse. And, the old, well, with Gabe and Liam being out, regardless, though, it's like, no, stop right there. That's a big deal. Those are two starters. I actually thought Liam played, I think, 12 minutes. When he was in there, was really good. 5 blocks, 4 assists. Fell down kind of towards the end, may have re-aggravated a little bit. We took him out. He only played 2 minutes in the second half. Well, I mean, that's a potential all-conference big that's not in the game to go along with Gabe. He leads the league in shot blocks. Gabe is our best defender by far, and you're going against a team that could go to the Final Four. So, there is somewhat of a reason for why that may have happened. Now, there's things that we did that we need to get better at from a physicality standpoint, but it's hard when you take 2 players who are very important to your defense and you take them off the court. So we got to, we got to get healthy. We've got Liam has not practiced since Purdue. That's really hard. Booth has had a foot issue that he's been really battling through. Marcus has had a little bit of a foot issue that haven't practiced 2 days in a row. So we're just kind of getting hit with some injuries at the wrong time. But what we got our guys to understand is, yes, there may be a valid reason for that, but that's not going to be in our minds when we go play Thursday. We're going to go try to get a big win versus a Northwestern team that, they've lost a lot of games, but they've been in games with everybody, so just don't fall into the trap of human nature. We're banged up. If you come to one of our practices, we're not even playing 5-on-5. But we're still in a hunt for an NCAA tournament berth. And let's go take care of Thursday.
Well, so how do you approach it? You have talked about with the guys, nobody cares. You say that all the time. No one cares about your problems. You got to figure out a way through them. It's obviously easier said than done. And obviously you could tell guys were feeling the weight of that on Saturday, just because Illinois is playing great. You're not playing well. You could see there was just kind of that defeated attitude. So how do you get them to break through that barrier of, nobody cares about the issues. They're there. They're real. We understand it. It's tough. We've talked about the COVID year, but we've still got a job to do here moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can't forget Illinois legitimately could go to a Final Four. They're really, really good, and they have a lot of guys back. They've got great talent, so tip your cap to them. And they took advantage of, just kind of our, vulnerability, so to speak. But we got to pick ourselves up off the mat. We had to take 2 days off of practice just because we hadn't taken a day off the week before, and then just get back to work. Show them on the film. There's no, in coaching, there's no magic pill with anything, right? There's not. It's very, very simple. You're going to get a little bit better every single day, and you just hope that you stay disciplined with that to where when you are ready on Thursday, that your habits are good to where it helps you get a win. But, there's no Braveheart speech or anything like that. It's you address where we broke down, and you hold everybody accountable that's on the court, who is playing, and you move on to try to go beat Northwestern. And that's really it. It's everybody goes through these things. We're going through some bad injuries at a very difficult time, but we're still in the hunt for an NCAA tournament berth.
You mentioned trying to get healthy too with 2 days off. Certainly that can maybe help. Can there be some mental rehabilitation in that time too for guys just to kind of clean the slate and get ready to go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the only problem is we're playing sports in a pandemic, so the isolation is probably not great. In normal, this is so more unique than I don't think anyone really understands from a coach's handbook of how you handle things, because you're always going to deal with the ebbs and flows. And then, you meet as a staff and say, hey, you know what, let's go short today and let's take him out to dinner. Let's give him off and go to a movie. Like, you can't do any of that. So sometimes it's better to be in the gym. Like a lot of our guys were in the gym yesterday, and they were having fun, and, you can see the smiles back on their face. So, I think, in today's world, isolation's bad, so the day off normally is good, but I think it'll be good to get back in the gym and get back to work today.
So is this kind of like a Dupree McBrayer situation, I think, from a few years ago, where he was playing but literally not practicing? I think he had a boot on his foot more or less the whole time. I mean, what are the challenges of that? What is he doing?
It feels pretty similar to, 3 years ago, when Reggie quit school. Amir, had surgery. Dupree wasn't practicing, and we can't let it get to that. I mean, we don't have as many games. That happened earlier in the season, but he's not practicing. Since the Purdue game, we didn't have a lot of days off. Like we were kind of practicing the next day, and a lot of the times when we have a game, we just walk through stuff and get up shots the next day. So a lot of guys who play normally get off to begin with, but no, he's not practicing. And, we're giving him rest, and we'll kind of see on Thursday what decision we need to make with him. We originally thought this week would be a really good week. Sometimes injuries, you just need rest. That's really it. But, we're also trying to fight, to get a win. So, and I know he wants to help the team win. So he's not practicing. We've monitored Marcus. Marcus has a little foot deal where he hasn't been practicing 2 days in a row. Curry doesn't really practice 2 days in a row. But again, I don't want to offend people and act like the coach talking about injuries, but it is what it is, but let's go fight and see if we can get one on Thursday.
You mentioned that part of it. I know in the post game you said, hey, this was, on everybody. We all have to take accountability. Well, as a coach, and I suppose it varies on the spectrum in terms of how you hold guys accountable, and including, I suppose, the coaching staff all the way through. That spectrum could go from here's film to all the way up to, I suppose, rattling their cage a little bit. We've talked about that. This is maybe not the year to rattle cages. So how do you handle those kind of things when you're trying to be corrective and hold people accountable? Well,
I mean, we're not going to, bring them out in the streets and throw things at them and fire everybody. I mean, like when I say that we all need to hold ourselves accountable, we do. I mean, it's not that it's one person to blame. It's not like there needs to be drastic changes, but like we have to understand that, we're dealing with injuries, but we can be better than what we were. I don't know if we beat, a really hot Illinois team with no Liam and no Gabe, but I know we can play better. And it's on all of us as coaches, and it's on the players too. Yes, it's always the head coach's responsibility because we run the program, but it's very important for our guys to hold themselves accountable as well. So again, like I said, you just watch the film. You're not going to run them into the ground. We can't even go 5-on-5 in practice. The goal is to take 2 days to get better, get prepared for Northwestern, and keep it moving. And that's really it, so nothing makes you feel better than a win. And, we didn't play great last game, but we've been pretty good in our building.
If you look at the numbers from the Illinois game, I don't think you didn't shoot terribly. You made more threes than you usually make, shot a really good percentage. And then there's the turnovers. It's 18. And then there's their fast break points, which I think were somewhere in the 30s. I mean, was there a theme to the turnovers where it was one specific type? Obviously the live ball ones are going the other way, but when you went back and kind of dissected that, what stood out about those? Yeah,
just a lack of fighting for your position, maybe on a ball reversal or, maybe on a, going back door. Again, when you go into a game, thinking Liam's going to play, and he plays, I think, 11 minutes the first half or 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's out. it changes your game. You don't have that low post threat that you're throwing it to, which we run a lot of stuff, to establish Liam. And then a bit of just wilting under pressure because they're very physical. They're very aggressive. So the turnovers are bad. The transition defense was really bad. And just a trust factor, like there'll be 14 seconds on the shot clock and we act like it's like 3 seconds. It's like, guys, like they don't break, trust it, keep it moving. So we got to work on it. The team is different, even with Gabe out versus when Gabe was in. It just offensively it's different. And the only way you really can get going is through good reps in practice. And it's just, we haven't really had that. So hopefully next 2 days we can get that.
Dosunmu had a triple-double in this game. You mentioned Illinois' potential Final Four team. I mean, they're playing to, they have a tough stretch of games like everybody in the Big Ten, but I think they're finishing with 3 or 4, well, counting the Minnesota game, 4 or 5 on the road, and maybe playing for a 1 seed. I mean, how good do you think this team can be? I mean, Dosunmu looked amazing. Well,
yeah, they're really good. I mean, and again, there's no fans on the road, so it's not a normal year. Those aren't typical road games with fans in it, so it's not as challenging to play on the road. That's why it's kind of been so weird. Like we've been so good at home and obviously haven't won a game on the road. And it's that storyline. Well, it's not hard to play on the road and it's not hard to play in our building. It's not. But what it comes down to is Illinois's got 2 of the best players in the league. Plus they've got 1 million returners. So yeah, I personally think they're the best team in the league. I really do. And I know Michigan's fought through some unbelievable adversity through getting shut down, and they've obviously only lost to us. But I just think that Illinois is the best team. Now, I don't know what the schedules and whatever that is. I don't know. But I feel like that's a team that is extremely talented. Of the teams that I've seen, Gonzaga, obviously the best. Baylor has been great, but gosh, I think Illinois is right there.
Yeah, if they're
what do they do? Go ahead, Grimmer.
No, I just say if they're rolling, they're hard to beat. There's no doubt about that. Go ahead, JG. Sorry.
And what do they do defensively? I mean, it seemed like the last 5 minutes of the first half, and then early on the second, when things kind of really got away, it seemed like they upped it defensively and made things really difficult. I mean, Brad Underwood, he has a defensive background like that, but what do they do to make things difficult for you?
Well, we had 2 of our starters are out, so. We
generally.
No, I know, but you got to keep ignoring it. I
didn't ignore it. I'm trying to give Illinois credit.
I understand, but it's like sure. when you take these players out in the middle of the game, you're gonna be disjointed. So they're very good. They're physical. They've got length. They disrupt the ball. But we had no low post presence. That is a major part of what we're doing. I mean, Liam had, 13 points a game. He's out. So it's just, they are very good. They're aggressive. We didn't handle it well. But I still think, you're taking 23 points a game off the court. But I do give them credit. I really do think they're a very good team. They're very aggressive, and they're very confident right now. I mean, you can just tell they're playing with great spirit. They're playing with great energy. They're together, and they're a really good team.
All right, we're due for a break. We'll take it right now. We want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Onward for Business. They want to be on your team when you buy or sell a business. Onward for Business is the one-stop shop for buying or selling your business and for payroll, insurance, bookkeeping, and more. Onward. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield. I am G. Collins. Welcome back. It is Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Richard Pitino, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gaard with you here on the Gopher Radio Network. And there is a schedule change this week. Most of you have likely heard about it by now, but there will be a game on Thursday night. It's an 8 o'clock home game against Northwestern. We will take air at 7:30 here on the Gopher Radio Network. And then Saturday's game will be a 6 o'clock game. That's at Nebraska. There's been a flip-flop as that Northwestern game was supposed to be on Saturday. They moved it to Thursday, and they dropped the Nebraska road game into that Saturday slot. So that's the way it looks as we approach the week ahead, a Thursday night game at 8 o'clock at Williams Arena. Coach, a couple of other things to talk about. I know I asked you about him in our pregame interview, but not everybody listens all the time. I want to talk about Jamal Mashburn here to start segment 2. And I know his dad was in attendance. First time he got to see him as a college player in person, which is, I think, kind of cool. But he's a freshman, and he's kind of maturing into a bona fide Big Ten player in front of our eyes here, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, obviously, very, very confident, good at getting to a spot and, good off the bounce. We were really good versus Indiana at getting to the rim and, broke down the last couple of minutes, but obviously not as good with Illinois. But, he was good. We had some really big defensive issues on the backside that had a lot to do with our guards, not necessarily, not to bore people with, basketball stuff, but, when a big sets a ball screen and you put 2 guys on the ball to guard the ball screen, and that dude is Kofi Coburn diving to the rim on the backside, your guards have got to be over and bump with some type of physicality. We had no presence there. We really missed Gabe there. And that's why, I think people wondered why I kept playing Gabe 30 minutes, even when he wasn't making shots. It's those little things that we really missed, and Jamal needs to learn that. I don't think it's a lack of effort. Maybe just an understanding of, hey, I got a 300-pound Kofi Coburn, I have to get in the way of him. Transition defense was not great. Our guards really, were struggling there, but he's got the talent. He loves the game. He loves to compete. He lives in the gym. His dad is, you don't see it as much as you'd love to, but he has some sense to him. He sees the big picture. And obviously when you play in the NBA and you've done so well, he's very realistic. So I know Jamal is hearing the right things from his people, which is not always the case. It's not always the case. So that, I think that's going to allow him to continue to grow and get better.
And how do you think he has improved throughout the year? You obviously, I think it was the Boston College game where he kind of came in and gave you guys a jump, and then he's been in and out, but obviously because he's needed to the last few games, he's played huge minutes for you. So how has he done kind of each step of the way throughout this season?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't love playing Marcus and Jamal together because we get small in a conference where it's very, very big and you need physicality, but that's kind of the hand we're dealt right now. And Booth is really hobbling. So it's just, he's not giving us much, hopefully the couple of days off will help him. But I just think it's an understanding of, it's hard to be thrown into this league as a freshman. This league statistically this year is the hardest in the history of college basketball. Statistically that difficult. And I just think Jamal has handled it well. But the reason why he handles it well is it's nothing flashy. It's not anything more than he just comes to work every single day. His habits are great, and that's the key in the long run. I mean, you look at a guy like Tom Brady, why is Tom Brady Tom Brady? Well, he's disciplined. Every day he's disciplined. He comes to practice. If practice is at 12 o'clock, he's not walking in at 11:59 with his shoes untied, walking in slowly. No, he's getting in there before. He's got his routine. He has a unique kind of shooting routine that he does. He stays after practice, and that allows him to have confidence. And sometimes it takes time with freshmen to learn that, and he's got that ingrained in him. Definitely still the defensive side of it needs to get a lot better, but that's not just him. That's everybody in the team.
Do you at all talk about, you've talked about with us, obviously, a couple of times that, you're clearly in the mix for an NCAA tournament berth. I think in years past, you've talked about that's not something necessarily you will talk with your team about. And I think there were even times in the past where you felt like that there was a weight on your team playing down the stretch because of that. Do you see that? Do you talk about it?
It feels different this year. Certainly, I'm sure it's there. They look at it and, I think when you look at the schedule, 4 winnable games, it's not really the way it works in a Big Ten, right? But this year has a totally different feel than most years because you're so isolated, you're not getting that experience on campus and you're not sitting in front of media, you're sitting in front of a computer screen. It's just, I don't know, it feels a whole lot different than before. But No, you don't talk about it much. I mean, you just make sure they understand, like, we've lost 3 in a row, but we're still in the hunt, guys, like we are. Like, we have, I don't know where we're at today. I think it's the top 5 strength schedule in the country. We've beaten some really good teams. We're right in the hunt, so, but you don't really, you just keep them positive and focused on the big picture. But also, like, you do everything possible to just get better today and get healthier and get ready for Northwestern, but definitely does not feel, because I've been to the tournament twice. NIT year that we won, we were definitely on the bubble. I even thought the second year we were on the bubble. Really, the third year, and then the year we had all the stuff off, out of our control, were only 2 years. Even last year, like, I know everybody thinks we didn't make the tournament. Like, I actually thought with our numbers, we won 2 more games, we're in the tournament, and then obviously it's canceled. So you try not to think about it too much, but definitely doesn't feel like it normally does.
So how do you balance the pressure versus the opportunity of it, where your guys obviously know, you always say there's good opportunities in front of us. We've got, opportunities to win games in front of us that'll put us in a good position. How do you balance just the pressure of that opportunity versus just, let's just go out and do the small things that we always do, and things will take care of themselves?
Yeah. That's a unique part of it. I mean, that's why we don't really talk a bunch about it. I mean, now we do talk about, hey, like, if we go back to the NCAA tournament, that's 3 and 4 years. Like, you can't count last year. There was no NCAA tournament. Like, I don't know how many people in Gopher basketball history have done that. We've only been 11 times in the history of the program. So, like, take pride in being able to put your stamp on that. Like, that would be great. But you just try to keep them motivated and positive and keep their spirit up, because it's that's the biggest challenge for every head coach right now is like keeping their spirit going, because you don't have fans, you don't have the thrill of on campus, and it doesn't feel like that this year. But that's a uniqueness that every coach is dealing with right now, and probably every boss in every profession is dealing with right now. But when it's time to practice, you really narrow your focus on getting better. It's not, hey, we're doing a rebounding drill, let's do this so we go to the NCAA tournament. It's not really like that. I mean, you take it day by day, more than anything.
All right, let's take another break. We'll come back. The Long Contested 2 is on the way. Sunbelt Business Advisors sponsors Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It is Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Richard Pitino. A reminder, Thursday and Saturday games this week. Thursday, Northwestern at home, 8 o'clock to tip off. We'll take air at 7:30 here on the Gopher Radio Network. Saturday at Nebraska, 6 o'clock to tip. We'll take air at 5:30. The time has come for the Long Contested 2 with Justin Gaard and Richard Pitino. And Justin Gaard, take it away.
I'm curious, you've talked a little bit about keeping the guys positive, keeping the guys fresh. You've talked a little bit about things you would do normally as a coaching staff to try to break up the monotony or give your team what you need. Like, as you guys go through it, and maybe you specifically, like, you've been through some of these battles, you've been through some of these struggles, you've come out the other side of some of them as well. Like, how do you keep yourself and your staff kind of locked in on what needs to be done in a completely different year, as you've mentioned, but we know about the mood of the team. Like, in terms of the staff, how do you guys kind of move through struggles like this?
Well, the hard part is, like, the practice before Illinois, Hunt was sick. I legitimately had Jeff Myatt in practice trying to simulate Illinois' fast break because Andre Hollins tore his Achilles. I'm not putting Jarvis out there, right? So that's the hard part. We have really good kids. The staff I think, understands the deal. But when you have so many guys that aren't practicing, you can't get that confidence built in practice because you just don't know, like, hey, is Liam playing Thursday? What's Booth's deal? What's Eric's deal? That's the hard part. If you had a full unit, and you had bodies and you're competing, that's where that competitive spirit gets going again. So, yeah, I mean, as it pertains to the staff, I mean, that's on me to come in with a positive attitude every single day and not feel sorry for myself or, we have injuries or no, like, let's go see if we can get a win on Thursday. Every team is dealing with something. So that's on me. That's on me to have good positive energy and be confident and, put together a game plan, move forward to the next 2 days to get these guys ready, and then, show great leadership. That's what leadership's all about.
So how do you get yourself revved up to do that? I mean, how do you, I don't think, like you say, you're not watching Braveheart probably before you come down for practice, but I mean, you're a human being. You're going through the ebbs and the flows of it. I mean, is that a thing you consciously have to do some days? Like, I've got to bring this today, I've got to bring that today. How do you navigate through that?
Yeah. I mean, as a coach, you have a pulse on when you can be hard on them, but when they need to hear positivity. And I think they always need to hear positivity, especially in a year like this year. But I was in bed at 9:00 last night. Didn't have a glass of wine, nothing. Like, I need to be refreshed, energetic, because these guys need me to be at my best, And so those are things. I mean, it's just your habits have got to be in alignment with your priorities, right? And if I want our guys to be positive, I need to be positive, And if I want our guys to have great spirit and energy and enthusiastic, well, you better believe I need to be that way when they're not around, because it is funny, as coaches, we complain often about our players. Man, the adults are just as bad as the kids a lot of the times. And, I got to hold myself to the highest standard with my behavior in order for it to rub off on the guys. So, it's having an intentional mindset of, when I go down to practice, I'm going to hold them accountable, but I'm going to be fired up for Thursday. I'm going to be fired up for an opportunity to maybe go back to the NCAA tournament, regardless of what the circumstances are.
What do you draw on when it's, you talked about confidence throughout the show today, and obviously things, when they start sliding down the hill against Illinois, it's human nature, as you said, to sulk a little bit, to maybe not cut as hard, to maybe not fight as hard. So how do you get them to break through that? When you can't practice or whatever, because these next 4 games are going to be hard. There's going to be points in the game where it's hard. And for you to win them, you're going to have to break through that. So how do you get that message across?
Yeah, like the second half, I mean, it was embarrassing. Like I'm not like, we're having injuries, but we got to be better than that, and we just lost our fight. And that's the beauty of sports. The beauty of sports is, and it's why I've said for 8 years since I've been here, like, never complain, because nobody cares. We have every reason in the book to give you why we were not going to beat Illinois. Gabe out, Liam not practicing, clearly hobbled, all those things. And like I was saying to you before, and I know certainly, you talk about it, but like, those are reasons why, but you still should not lose by 30 to anybody. You still can get back and put a body in front of anybody. I don't care if you're the first guy or the last guy on the roster. Those are things that you can control. So you fight. You continue to fight whatever the hand is dealt. And we did not do that in the second half. So I don't care who's hurt, who's not practicing. That's what the standard of this program needs to be all about. So get them to understand that. Like, I don't care, guys, who's practicing today, tomorrow. I don't care who the doctors and the trainers are playing on Thursday. I don't care. If you go out there, you have a sense of pride for your team. You have a sense of pride for yourself, and you hold yourself accountable, and we all hold ourselves accountable. So, again, like, it's just the habits every single day. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, nothing's going to – we're being dealt a lot of adversity, and we could give you every reason in the book why we should feel sorry for ourselves. Like, we're not going to do that. We're going to prepare for Thursday like it's the national championship.
So does it concern you that there wasn't that fight against Illinois, or do you think that it's, it was a tough week, good team, and we can fix it moving forward?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, because coaches deal with a lot. We have great kids. Like, I was just going to get tested, and one of the nurses said, I just want you to know your kids are as respectful and humble. They're about the right things. But like, I was always very concerned going into the year because we had so many new guys in the middle of a pandemic. So you're not able to kind of build that team like you need to. And that's why you've seen a lot of teams with a lot of new players really struggle. Jarvis opts out. He was an older guy who had provided leadership. You're missing that a little bit. You've got some older guys in Booth, Liam, and Brandon but they're new. So they may be old, but they're new. So we're still developing that team kind of chemistry that is not there yet. So I'm not concerned with that part of it. I think they're somewhere in the middle of Illinois was really, really good, and they did take our spirit and our fight away. But I'll be more concerned if we don't pick ourselves off the mat and get back to work today, more so than what happened in the second half there.
Where does the leadership come from within the group? You know, the voices that aren't yours, the adults in the room. Where have you seen that manifest?
It's always the key is always with the older guys. That's the challenge of, and again, it's my fault, right? Blame me. But, you know, when Peyton Willis transfers, that's an older voice that he decided he want to go down a level, get some more shots, et cetera. And you respect that. I mean, Peyton's a great kid. When Jarvis opts out due to COVID, that's a voice that you needed, and it's gone because Jarvis has played in the NCAA tournament. But the most important thing is Marcus has been here. Eric has been here. Gabe has been here. And leadership is all about, man, not feeling sorry for yourselves and just every single day providing it. But it's very, very important that the players are talking the right way. And our guys are. Where they need to get better is spirit, and enthusiasm. And that's where they need to get better. So, but, as coaches, we got to keep preaching it and hope that they're doing it when we're not around.
How much do you talk to those specific guys about that? Or they've been around, they kind of know that's the natural evolution of how things should go?
We talk a lot about it, just what leadership is. And you got no chance unless the big guys who have experience winning, you have no chance unless they pass it along. And they do, they do, and again, we got our butts kicked, especially in the second half there versus Illinois. Learn from it and move on and respond. We don't know if Liam's going to play. We don't. Okay. Sam, get ready. Eric, get ready. Maybe we need to play small. Brandon, get ready. That's it, but keep loving the game. Keep believing in each other. Keep getting better. I do think there is this belief that leadership is all about standing up in front of the team and giving the speech on camera. And that only gets you so far. True leadership, and that's why Gabe Kalsher I've always been a fan of, is Gabe is not extremely vocal.
Right.
Not at all. But he's as good of a leader as anyone out there because every single day he's not afraid. And what Gabe does, which is very important too in leadership, is he's not afraid to work even if he's not playing well. Sometimes when you're not playing well, the defense mechanism is, I'm too cool for that. He's coming in and working. That's what you need. That's kind of that special sauce you need in your locker room.
You mentioned that you felt like the guys were having fun the other day at practice. There was a spirit there. I mean, what stood out about it? What do you think? Why do you think that? Or what did you see?
I don't remember. When did I mention that?
Earlier in the show, I think.
It wasn't practice. You said.
I think it was yesterday in the gym. Yeah. Talking about a lot. It's they're also messing around. They're shooting half court shots and stuff too, and playing one-on-one. But that's a lot of that has to do with just the personalities on the team. There's some guys in our locker room who have spirit. One of the reasons I made the switch with Trey Williams is he has spirit. And you need that, especially in the middle of a pandemic. The outward extrovert personality, that's not always the answer. There's a lot of leaders, like Bill Belichick is clearly an introvert and a phenomenal leader. But during a pandemic, you need spirit, so going into practice, certainly that's it. A lot of time days off do help, just recharge, reboot and say, okay, we got 4 games left. There's no better time. Being on the bubble is stressful for a coach for sure, but there's no better feeling than being in the hunt, especially going to conference tournament. That's a great feeling. So we got to embrace it.
All right, Grimmer, you got anything to add?
No, we are due for a break. How about we take our final break and we'll come back and have our final segment of this wonderful radio show.
I'll be here. I'll be here for it.
We'll take a break. This is Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino from Learfield, IMG College. Welcome back. It's our final segment, Gopher Basketball Weekly with Richard Pitino. It's sponsored by Sunbelt Business Advisors. The Gophers with a Thursday night game hosting the Northwestern Wildcats at 8 o'clock. That's a 7:30 pregame show on the Gopher Radio Network. Saturday, it's at Nebraska. That's a 6 o'clock tip and a 5:30 pregame show. And, Coach, let's talk about the Northwestern Wildcats. First time and only time you in the regular season anyway that you guys will have seen each other. It's one of those, always there's a quirk or two in the schedule, and the quirk for you is you're seeing a couple of teams for the first time here in the final 4 games, including Penn State. So tell us about the Wildcats.
Yeah, similar in a lot of ways to them last year, where like very hard to guard. They have a bunch of guys back from last year, which is always the key in this league, is can you build and grow and get better? You know, they've got talent on the wings. Like Kopp is a really good player. You know, they're like a weird team, kind of like us. Like they should have swept Indiana. They beat Ohio State. It was a 1-point game at Illinois with a couple minutes to go. You know, Wisconsin was really good against them, I thought. So, you know, we got to be at our best because they've got some veterans. Chris Collins always runs really good offense. They shoot a lot of jump shots. So you better be a presence there because that means they're shooting a lot of threes. And when teams get hot, you know, you got to control what you can control there. So very tough game for us. The schedule is weird in that sense. We haven't played them all the way to the end. And Penn State as well. And then obviously the new dynamic with the one-day prep with Nebraska. So, but like I said, we're sole focus on Northwestern, who's a really good team.
And you mentioned if Liam can't go, Eric's got to get ready. Sam Freeman's got to get ready. He's played, you know, some pretty good minutes here the last couple of games. What do you think of him? How has he kind of taken that challenge, and how has he, you know, kind of gotten through this opportunity?
Yeah, it's a good. I've wanted to play him more, but you know, obviously somebody's going to have to be out in order for him to get that opportunity. And I think his minutes will increase. So as hard as it is to endure the injuries, it's really good for Sam, It's really good for Jamal Mashburn and their growth, but it's tough for us kind of doing it. But that's the key. You know, we played a podcast for our guys, Tom Brady, and Tom Brady talked about, I just always wanted to be ready when my opportunity was called. And then I never wanted to give it up. And like, you know, if you're Sam or you're Jamal, like, we don't want you thinking like, hey, we want somebody to get hurt. So I get like, no, I don't want them thinking that way. But there's that inner competitiveness within your team that you need to push each other every day so that a guy wants to get back on the court from an injury, or, you know, a guy, you know, that's what you need. And, you know, certainly we want everybody to be healthy. You know, I want Liam hopefully get some rest and feels a little bit better today, and we'll see moving forward. But if not, like we talked about, you know, talking about injuries, yeah, they are valid reasons, but shouldn't matter. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it does not matter versus Northwestern, and Sam's taking advantage of some good opportunities, so hopefully continues to grow.
What are some areas that for him to be where you want him to be as he develops in his career that he needs to improve?
Well, he obviously has a big presence. He's big. You know, he can block some shots. He rebounds the ball well. He kind of has a quirky way of scoring, but he does score. You know, he had a jump hook off the glass. It was pretty good last game. I think just a understanding of concepts defensively, what we're doing, or absorbing the scouting report, or, you know, but to his defense, like, he's probably like, I'm not playing a lot, you know, so now that he's going to play more, hopefully there's a heightened sense of that. But I like him. You know, guys like Sam, you see on other teams, whether it's Travion Williams redshirted, you know, like, you need guys like him who grow and get better, and they stay the course and they believe in what you're doing. So then their junior and senior year, and even with this year, I mean, everybody gets a year back. There's so much uniqueness to this, but he's gotten better, and, you know, just continue to grow and get better, you know, I mean, and just understand it all. But he's a good kid and he works hard.
For a guy like Gabe, who, as you mentioned, lives in the gym and is always working, like what is he doing to stay involved or stay engaged? I imagine he's not just completely checked out, but as a guy who spends his whole day trying to get better at basketball, he can't play right now. So
he was in the gym yesterday shooting with his left hand. That's how much he just loves. He loves to work. You know, he's some guys have it, some guys don't. He embraces working. You don't have to ask him to do it. You know, he wants to do it. He's just got all the intangibles, you know, he really does. So, you know, I told him, you know, work on your left hand. You never dribble with it ever, you know, and making him laugh. But, you know, I want to make sure he gets healed first before he's in there doing anything, you know. But he's one of those guys for sure. Like he wants a ball in his hands. He's like the guys, you know, who work out every day. Like it's just ingrained in them. And he's that type of guy. So I can't wait to get him back. You know, I mean, if we can win some of these games and then get him back, get him full strength, you know, who knows what might happen.
Along those lines with Liam, you mentioned he's not practicing, but there's certainly something about needing to stay in shape. I mean, basketball is, and for a big especially. So what does he do? Is he swimming? Is he biking? You know, I mean, not on an actual bike, but, you know, on an exercise bike. What do you do?
Swimming.
Cardio going.
He went over to Lake Minnetonka this weekend and was just doing some laps. Yeah. No, he's not doing much right now. I mean, there's rehab, you know, obviously the icing, and there's some band workouts and things that he's doing. But yeah, and big guys always get out of shape quicker than guards. I mean, that's just normal as well. So it's not ideal by any means. He needs rest, but then he's going to get out of rhythm. I mean, he's clearly been out of rhythm since he got hurt versus Purdue. I think he was 1 for 8 versus Maryland, if I remember correctly. Indiana was 1 for 2. You know, like that's the hard part. So for us, it's getting him the rest he needs, but also rehabbing it. You know, but nothing. No swimming, but just more training room stuff.
I was thinking, you know, you have those pools now, those workout pools. I was thinking maybe with the ankle that might be a spot. I wasn't suggesting.
Yeah, no. People do that. I don't know if he's there yet. I don't get involved in it a lot, to be honest with you, with all that stuff. I stay out of it. I really do. I mean, I want the student athlete to decide if he wants to play or not. You're never going to get any internal pressure from me. Like, tough it out. Like, you're not going to hear that from me ever. You know, I let the doctors and the trainers do their deal. I empower them, and I let Liam tell me, you know, and I told him before the game, I'm like, hey, man, like you don't need to play. Like, I don't want, you know, and I'll watch you, and I'll see if you're moving well. And I thought he was moving well until he kind of re-aggravated it, and then you could tell. That's why we only played him 2 minutes in the second half.
All right, very good. I had to make Guardsy a couple of football games doing those sidelines. I had to get tough with him a time or two. Say, stick it out. I know it's
we're an old school program, the Gopher Radio Network. Yeah.
Stick it out and work hard. Well, all right. Hey, we'll see you on Thursday. Gophers and the Wildcats, 8 o'clock tip at Williams Arena.